Hello, everybody. Welcome to E17 Fan Zone, and thank you for messages and engagement on the post and the video that I posted yesterday and in the past couple of weeks. This word legacy, and what I mean by that, a couple of people have, a couple of trolls have kind of messaged the page to say, you're not talking about Oasis here or something. Look, I get that. I'm a massive fan of other music, more so than E17. E17 was a time stamp in my life when I was at school, etc., which is probably why it kind of means it means a little special kind of time for me. So I do have fun thoughts on that, and that's why I kind of make these videos. I want people's opinions, and my opinion is, if you look at boy bands from that era, bands from that era, E17 and Take That with the Pinnacle, they were the most successful. No one talked about Boyzone or any of these other bands as being rivals to Take That. It's always been E17. And my opinion now is that we never talk about, no one even ever talks about E17, and they went on to do gigs in places that it just damaged his reputation. I think that's one of the reasons why no one ever talks about them. They had some great songs. Tony was a great writer. I think they got very lucky with who they lucky. They were put with the right producers. The image they had worked at the time. The logo and everything like that. When they came out, they just looked like everyday people. And that's one connection I will make with Oasis. I think that's why E17 did connect with a lot of people, and especially like males at school, was because they were just normal. They just looked normal. They weren't overly styled or anything like that. So that's why I talk about this word legacy. I know I did realize that we're not talking about world beating music here, but it's just an interest of mine. And yeah, they're not talked about in the same vein they were when they were out. And I think that's a shame, because it's what's happened after that I think has damaged that. And so yesterday I was talking about, in the past I've talked about is what Brian's saying, damaging the reputation of E17. And yes, I think it is. To be fair to Brian, in a video yesterday that also mentioned the current lineup. Are they doing more damage than what Brian's saying online? I'm not so sure. Personally speaking, I do think that it would have been better if there was just no E17, and then when they came back, it would be more of a of a spectacle. If they had, I don't think I'll ever come back now. But even when they did, they have these kind of reunions. It's never been, it was never talked about in the same as Take That. It just wasn't. And yeah, so I've thought about that a little bit. Actually, after the last kind of video I did, yeah, what I take from it now is I think from all what I've said, and I did get criticised for it, especially talking about Brian, was I think this topic of this message is the biggest impact on E17 being because of Tony's actions, or not his actions, and what I mean by that is Tony started that band. Okay, it was his band. The facts are there. That's just the truth of the matter. He formed the band. He wrote the songs. He was going to get a solo deal. I think it was London Records. It was either London Records or Tom Watkins who suggested that it would be better in the kind of current musical climate that they started a boy band around that, and someone else sang and Tony would do the rapping. So that's the facts. It was Tony's band. They got a record deal off the back of those songs, and they formed it, and it was Image and everything around that. So what happened after that? I kind of think Brian's kind of hinted on it before, that if anyone could take, or anyone could kind of try and use the rights to the name, if other people left. I believe the biggest problem in the whole situation since E17 finished the first time round was, I think Tony should have blocked the name E17 being used in the future unless he was part of it. And whatever that took, he should have tried to do, because in my opinion, he's let that, and he's continued to let his songs be used and performed by Terry and the other guys in the latest lineup. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake of E17 is it's just been fleeced basically. And that's no disrespect to Terry. I get why he's doing that. He was never a lead person in the band. I've said again, as well as that, I've said before that I think him and John cut too much flack in the past. I think their contributions don't get looked at. And look, let's not beat around the bush. They started as dancers, as backing dancers. But they looked the part, and it was better. It was a better image having them two in the band than it would have been just having Tony on his own, or just Tony and Brian. So they did play a part, even though that was small. I think Tony should have tried harder. The name E17 has been fleeced. I can see why Terry's doing it. He's in control of it. He's not doing it such a bad job booking wise. I believe they still get quite good gigs in Europe. There's videos of him out there playing to really big crowds. But for me, it's been fleeced, and Tony should have stopped that. And I guess my own response to my own video today is the biggest. How do you put it? The person who has damaged E17's reputation the most, I guess it's Tony. He should have fought more for his band, and he gave up the band, didn't he? When Brian left the first time, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. They did Hey Child, which I think would have been a better song with someone else singing it. Tony's vocals were never strong. But I think Tony's mentioned it before, before Blair came at the band, they looked at getting a female singer. For me, that would have been the ideal situation for E17 to continue after Brian left the first time. And for a couple of reasons. One, I think it would have stopped comparisons. Anyone who joins E17 will always be compared to Brian. I think if you had a female vocalist, it's very hard to do that because they're instantly different. And it would have been a different angle, and I think it would have worked. It would have worked really well. And they should have done that. And for whatever reason, Tony decided to leave, and Brian and the rest of them continue. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Could that have worked? E17 and the female vocalist. I mean, there was plenty out there at the time as well, wasn't there? I mean, I think, in terms of male vocalists, I think a lot of the singers around there were shit. Let's face it. Let's face it. A lot of the boy bands were rubbish. So I think it was an impossible task to, in my opinion, to replace Brian. But a female vocalist would have done that in a different way, and I think it could have worked. Could have really worked. Tony could have continued as kind of a front man of the band. And had a second vocalist doing the clean vocals, or E17's, anyone who knows E17's lineup towards the end as well, they performed with 3 backing vocalists. So for me, I think it could have continued in that way. And I think a couple of gigs that Tony did about 10 or 12 years ago, he had a similar format to that. So he did all the rapping and stuff, and he had 2 or 3 backing vocalists singing all the clean vocals. I thought that worked quite well. If you put John and Terry kind of back in the mix to just kind of give it that band look. But yeah, let us know what you think. Is the biggest kind of villain in this Tony? Is the biggest villain in this Tony? Should he have stopped anybody else using these 70 name? So if anybody else went out and did it, it was just a different kind of format and wouldn't be directly compared to it. But yeah, let us know what you think. I think another video I'll do soon is kind of Brian's thought process currently on E17. I don't think it's fair. He's slagged the band off loads in the past few months, and I think for someone, let's face it, look, even if Brian went out now, he'd have to sing E17 songs. So I think that's unfair. But that's a video for another day. Let me know what you think on that. What can we discuss next? Thanks very much, and I'll speak again soon.